There was a time when ordinary tasks felt incomplete on their own. They needed something added: meaning, purpose, efficiency, improvement. Doing something simple was rarely just doing it. Washing dishes came with commentary. Driving came with mental planning. Cleaning, waiting, folding, organizing. All of it was accompanied by thoughts about how it could be done better, faster, or for a reason. Ordinary tasks were treated as placeholders, things you got through so you could return to what mattered. But as the inner narrator continues to soften, something changes in how these tasks are experienced. They stop waiting for justification. They stop needing to be upgraded. They stop being something you endure on the way to something else. They become complete, not special. Complete. You wash the dish gets washed, and that's the entire experience. There's no internal commentary saying this is boring. No thought about what you'd rather be doing. No sense that time is being wasted. The task fills the moment fully. Nothing spills outside of it. At first, this can feel almost unsettling. We're so used to multitasking internally, so used to letting the mind roam while the body works. So when the body is engaged and the mind doesn't wander, it can feel strange. Isn't something missing? But nothing is missing. What's gone is the habit of absence, the habit of being somewhere else while doing something. Ordinary tasks become grounded experiences, not because they're interesting, because they're undivided. There's no split between doing and thinking about doing. There's just movement. Attention rests naturally in what's happening. Not because you place it there, because there's nowhere else it needs to go. This changes the quality of effort. Before, effort came from resistance, from wishing the task were over, from mentally negotiating with the moment. Now effort drops, not because the task is easier, because resistance isn't added. You notice that many tasks don't require much energy at all. What exhausted you before wasn't the task. It was the commentary, the internal friction. Without that friction, movement feels smooth. You fold laundry without rushing. You clean without narrating progress. You cook without evaluating the outcome in advance. And none of this feels meditative or special. It just feels straightforward. Ordinary tasks stop being used as time fillers. They stop being the background to thought. They become the foreground of experience. And that changes how time feels. Time doesn't drag during simple tasks anymore, but it doesn't fly either. It moves at the speed of the action. You don't check the clock. You don't estimate how long it will take. You don't count down. You just do what's in front of you until it's done. This creates a quiet sense of sufficiency, not satisfaction, sufficiency. The sense that what you're doing is enough for now. It doesn't need to connect to a larger purpose. It doesn't need to be optimized. It doesn't need to lead somewhere. It stands on its own. This is especially noticeable with tasks that used to feel tedious. Waiting, standing in line, sitting in traffic. These moments were once filled with irritation or distraction. The mind rushed to escape them, scrolling, planning, complaining internally. Now, waiting is just waiting. There's no attempt to improve it, no effort to make it productive. The body waits, the moment passes, and surprisingly, waiting doesn't feel heavy, because nothing is arguing with it. There's also less impatience. Impatience used to come from comparison. This moment versus a better one. This task versus a preferred one. Without that comparison, impatience has no fuel. You're not measuring the present against an imagined alternative, so the present holds. Ordinary tasks also lose their emotional charge. Before, certain tasks carried moods: dread, boredom, resentment. Now, the mood doesn't automatically attach. The task is just a task. Emotion may appear or not. Either way, it doesn't define the experience. This creates emotional neutrality during activity. Not numbness, neutrality. You're not trying to enjoy the task. You're not trying to tolerate it either. You're just doing it, and that's enough. This shift also affects how you transition between tasks. Before, transitions were abrupt. You rushed through one thing to get to the next. or you lingered mentally after a task was finished. Now, transitions are clean. A task ends. You stop. The next task begins. There's no mental residue. Nothing carries over. You're not still thinking about what you just did. You're not already thinking about what comes next. Each task occupies its own space. This makes days feel less cluttered, even when they're full. Because nothing overlaps mentally. You're not doing 3 things at once internally. You're doing one thing, then another. This simplicity is deeply restful. Not because you're resting, because your attention isn't fractured. Ordinary tasks also stop being markers of identity. Before, how you did things mattered. Did I do this well enough? Was I efficient? Was I responsible? Now, tasks aren't used to define you. They're not evidence of worth. They're just actions. You don't read into them. You don't judge yourself through them. You don't build a narrative from them. You take out the trash. The trash is taken out. Nothing else needs to be said. This removes a subtle layer of self-evaluation. You're no longer watching yourself work. You're no longer measuring yourself against standards in real time. You're simply participating in what needs to be done. And participation feels lighter than performance. There's also a shift in how interruptions are handled. Before, interruptions were frustrating. They broke focus. They disrupted momentum. Now, interruption is just a change in task. There's no attachment to finishing something in a certain way. No irritation when flow is broken. Flow wasn't something you were maintaining. It was just happening naturally. So when something interrupts, attention moves. And when you return, you return. Nothing is lost. This creates flexibility. Not strategic flexibility. Natural flexibility. You're not rigidly holding on to tasks. You're responsive to what's happening. That responsiveness makes ordinary life smoother, less brittle, less tense. This also changes how you relate to productivity. Productivity used to require justification. Am I doing enough? Am I using my time well? Now, productivity becomes incidental. Things get done because they need to, not because you're trying to be productive. You don't measure output. You don't track efficiency mentally. You don't need proof that the day was used well. Tasks complete themselves. And when they're done, they're done. There's no lingering need for validation. This doesn't reduce responsibility, clarifies it. You do what's needed when it's needed. Not because it says something about you, because it's appropriate. This sense of appropriateness replaces motivation. You're not pushing yourself to do things. You're responding to what's in front of you. That response doesn't require encouragement. It doesn't require discipline. It happens naturally. One of the quietest changes is how satisfaction shifts. Before, satisfaction came from completion, from crossing something off, from feeling accomplished. Now, satisfaction is less noticeable, not because it's gone, because it's not highlighted. The task completes. There's a natural sense of closure. Then attention moves on. You don't pause to feel good about it. You don't need to. The closure was enough. This also affects how you handle unfinished tasks. Before, unfinished tasks created mental noise. They lingered. They demanded attention. Now, unfinished tasks are just tasks that aren't done yet. They don't haunt you. They don't carry emotional weight. They'll be done when they're done, or they won't. Either way, they don't define the moment you're in. This reduces background stress, the kind you didn't realize you were carrying. A low-level tension from all the things not yet completed. Without that tension, ordinary tasks don't pile up mentally. They exist in real time only. This allows you to be more present without trying. Presence isn't something you practice. It's what happens when nothing pulls you away. Ordinary tasks stop being obstacles to presence. They become expressions of it. Not in a poetic way, in a functional way. You're present because you're doing one thing at a time. Because nothing is narrating the experience. Because nothing is asking for more. This doesn't make life exciting. It makes life workable, sustainable. There's less burnout. Not because you rest more, because you don't drain energy through resistance. The body does what it does. The mind stays quiet unless needed, and ordinary tasks fit seamlessly into that rhythm. You begin to see how much of life is made of these moments. Not milestones, not peak experiences, simple actions repeated. When those actions are fully enough, life stops feeling like it's waiting to begin. It's already happening. In the sink, on the road, in the waiting room, in the quiet minutes between things. Nothing needs to be added. Nothing needs to be taken away. Ordinary tasks don't need to become meaningful. They don't need to be enjoyable. They just need to be done. And when they're done without commentary, without resistance, without evaluation, they complete themselves cleanly. You move on, and the day continues, fully, ordinarily, enough.